Hello, friends. Welcome, Salem Mason Happy Home, and I'm happy to be here with you today. And I want to talk to you about something that has become very near and dear to my heart. Something I call personally super aging. Back in January, we're always making all of these New Year's resolutions. Oh, we're going to lose 1,000 pounds. We're going to run a triathlon, hike the largest mountain in the world, that kind of crap, right? Well, when you set those goals, if you don't set those simple, tiny little goals, if you don't break those bigger goals up into smaller, tinier, more attainable goals, you're never going to reach that goal. And in January, I hadn't really thought about what I was going to do for, the New Year's resolutions and all that crap this year. So I decided that I would, of course, do the more healthy thing. Everybody's just eat it right, exercise and that kind of thing. But one day in January, I got a notice from the Social Security office saying that I was now eligible for retirement, and that really struck me dramatically. Not because I realized that I wasn't ready yet for taking that step for retirement. Not financially. I'm not talking about finances or any of that stupid bullshit, Medicaid, Medicare, and all that nonsense. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about, excuse me, being, uh, you know, I'm not talking about the obvious things. As far as leaving my job, I am ready to, I am ready to take the bolt cutters to this ball and chain 40-hour-a-week job that I have ASAP. I tell you. But I'm grateful that I have the job today. I'm grateful for my pension and my benefits and everything that this job brings me. I'm super grateful to have it, and very lucky because I do work for the government. And shit rolls downhill, and eventually the feds here in the great state of Minnesota, they're going to run out of their money and they're going to come gunning for our jobs. So the shutdown does affect you when you work for the government. And what struck me about getting that notice was that I wasn't prepared. And of course, it had to do with the physicality of aging and the mentality of aging. And what I mean by this is I was able to step back and realize that I hadn't thought about how I wanted to approach my golden years, how I wanted to walk the path into my golden years. I knew that I wanted to live a very long time. I want to live a really long time. I want to enjoy every moment I can. But how I live it is going to depend on the quality of life. So, do I want to be the oldest woman in the gym or the youngest woman in the nursing home? Of course, I want to be the oldest woman in the gym. And that's a little meme that I caught on TikTok, and I saw it and I was like, wow, that's my new anthem. And so when you look at at how you're going to age, how you're going to, how are you going to live a long time? So the first thing is, what do I want to do? Well, I want to live a long time. That's the first goal. But how am I going to achieve that? Well, by, healthy, responsible living. But how do I achieve that? Because you got to start with, okay, you want to live a long time? Where do you want to live? Well, I want to live in my own home. Now, the home itself is immaterial. It could be, the family home that you've had for 30, 40 years, or once you retire and leave your job, you may want to move to a warmer climate or move to a smaller house or move to a townhome where they're going to take care of the landscaping because you're not real big on mowing the lawn. Or, you might want to move closer to the kids or maybe pack up all together and just get a little apartment to store your stuff and travel. The location is immaterial because that is a fluid part of our life. But how you live in that location, how you live in your home, is the linchpin to the whole process of aging independently. Because if you cannot live safely and have a good quality of life in your home, someone somewhere is going to come along and they are going to pull you out of there. They're going to sell your stuff. Your family's going to convince you that you need to go away to, some nursing home or some other place. And if that's not your goal, if that's not what you want, then you need to get it together right now. I know that there are a lot of people who really just don't care. In fact, I heard a man, I'd say about a month ago. This man, was talking about aging, and I noticed that this man had a lot of health problems, and they didn't seem to care because they had a doctor who was going to pump him full of drugs, give him a walker, prescribe an Amigo and a fancy bed. They were going to get all these bells and whistles through their Medicaid and Medicare, and they were going to have fun. They didn't care. They didn't have to be responsible for their well-being and independence but who cares? I'm just going to get all this stuff for free or discounted. And we talked about things like living in a virtual world. We've got a lot of AI, a lot of identity theft on seniors. We've got a lot of new aspects of the digital world coming into our lives. And this person just kind of blew me off. I said, well, are you really prepared for this? And this person said, well, I don't need to be prepared. My nephew, he's a computer guy. He does everything for me. I don't have to do it. I've got my nephew. And my first gut reaction to that was, how fair is that to your nephew? I know your nephew. Your nephew has a full-time job, a house, children, a dependent spouse. How fair is that to your nephew that you would just assume that they're going to be there whenever you need them? It doesn't matter how old you are. You need to stand up and take your life into your own hands. But for me, the first step was realizing, how do I want to age? How do I want to go into my golden years? Well, I want to go into my golden years living a long, healthy, productive, independent life, and I want to do it in my own home. Those were the two first steps, okay? Making the decision to live a long life and making the decision that I wanted to live it in my own place on my own terms. But how do you do that effectively and effortlessly and happily without somebody dragging you out and putting you into a nursing home? Well, you do it by starting with the simplest, basic physical steps of being able to live on your own. And when people age, the first thing they do is your body starts to lose muscle mass. And if you slow down, if you don't lift weights, if you don't continue eating high protein diets and keep that muscle mass going, that muscle mass dries up and withers away. And what does it do? Well, it takes your bones with it because it's holding your bones in place. It's keeping those bones where they need to be. It's cushioning those bones when you hit your shin on something or you fall. They're cushioning your bones. They're giving you the strength to move and navigate your world. You need those muscles. And if you don't have muscle mass, if you don't have muscle tone, then your bones are going to start to be affected. And if your bones dry up and they be affected because they're leaching all of the vitamins and minerals out of the rest of your body because they're trying to make up for the loss of muscle, that is coming from your brain. It is leaching all of the necessary vital nutrients and things that you need in your brain to function into your bones because you don't have any muscle. So it's a domino effect. So I realized that the first thing I needed to do was be absolutely certain that I and other seniors too, this is for everybody, we all have to know how to navigate chairs, stairs, and floors on our own by ourselves, because the number one concern with older individuals is falling. Now, if you eat a healthy, high fiber, high protein diet, and you use, even just the 1-2 pound weights like this, and you keep that muscle mass alive and active, okay, you are going to have less risk in fracturing a bone if you should fall. Accidents, they're going to be inevitable, but how your body responds to that accident is going to make the difference between a broken hip and recuperating for 8 weeks in a nursing home, coming home with a walker, or if you're just going to get up off the floor and it's not a broken hip, it's a sprain or it's a bruise. Okay. So stairs, chairs, and floors. And I realized that in order to do that, you need to activate your core and you need to have good muscle tone. And the goal is to be sure that you can navigate the stairs up and down without dizziness, of course, but with items in your hands, such as laundry, groceries, etc. So I incorporated into my workout, which is weights and ab machines and yoga and all this, using the stairs up and down with items of different weight and different sizes in my hands, because you're not always going to have that free hand to use that railing to get up and down the stairs. And in order to do that, you need to activate your core. So I practice going up and down the stairs using my core, which is your abs, and my legs, and doing it with a various amount of different things here and there, something in one hand and then next day in the other, and heavier things and lighter things and no things or whatever. And practice that and incorporate that into my daily life so that my muscle memory knows how to get up and down those stairs. And my muscle memory will help me if I should start to fall. The same thing with getting up and down off of a chair. Everybody assumes they're going to have something to hang on to. Well, what if you don't? What if you had tendonitis, tennis elbow from playing pickleball, and your elbow's in a sling and you don't have that arm to use? How are you going to get yourself up? Especially if you're obese, especially if you have no muscle mass, especially if you don't use your body. How are you going to get up? You have to be able to get up without your arms by activating your core and your lower body. And this is actually physical therapy that I learned from my knee guy when I had my knee replaced in 2023. How to get up and down off of a chair with your lower body and your core and nothing else. And I incorporated that into my workout routine and into my daily activities. And it's the same thing with getting up and down off of a floor. Now, there are a million videos out there that show you how to get up and down off of a floor from various situations, various ages, various levels of health, size, weight, etc. It's imperative that you teach your body not to be afraid of the floor, how to get to the floor safely, and how to get back up from the floor safely. Because you can actually avoid a fall if you know how to fall. If there's something in your brain called muscle memory, and when you continuously do the same tasks repetitively and consistently, your brain starts to remember how to activate what muscle groups to achieve the task before you. That's why we do shooter drills. That's why we do tornado drills and fire drills, because in schools and in workplaces, you need to know in a moment's notice where to go for safety and how to get there. And so they build this training up, this muscle memory into your brain so that your brain knows how to do it. It's the same thing with chairs, stairs, and floors. And once you practice getting up and down off of the floor, because you may not always have a chair. You may not always have your phone with you when you fall. You may not always have something to hang on to or someone there to help you. You have to know how to do these things on your own. If you fall and you have no way to get up, or you don't know how to fall safely, how to avoid breaking a hip, and you break a hip, you're done. You're done. You're going to be fighting your family to keep you out of the nursing home. You're going to be fighting for your life and your independence forever. And it's got to be avoided if you want to live on your own till your last breath. So getting up and down off the floor, I was very afraid of doing that. But when I realized that there's nothing to fear, and when I watched a zillion videos on how to get up and down off of the ground safely and realized, well, I practice yoga. I've been practicing yoga for 25 years. I should know how to get up and down off the floor. And actually, I really did. But I was using it in terms of yoga and not in terms of practicality. So I've incorporated the two ways of getting up and down off of the floor. And now I can successfully do so effortlessly and without any issues. And if I should trip and fall, because I have a strong core and lower body, I can prevent that fall from happening in some instances, but I'll be able to get up and down off the floor. And because I have strong muscle tone and I have a strong core, I may actually very well be able to prevent injury. So that has been this goal this year of my journey to super aging. Learning how to do chairs, stairs, and floors all by myself with nothing more than my body. Because if I want to live in my home for the rest of my life on my own, independently, I can't do that if I can't get up and down from a chair, up and down from stairs, and up and down from the floor on my own. That's the first step. There's many more, and I might make a series about this because there are so many aspects to super aging. And there's a lot of self-help gurus and people out there touting their miracle cures for this and that and the other thing. You know, follow what you will. But this aspect of physicality, of being physically independent in your own home, is imperative. Do the workouts, walk the mile a day. You know, I've got the Nordic sticks too. I've got all the equipment here. You know, go ahead, keep doing that stuff, walk the mall, whatever you're going to do. That's great. Okay? Continue doing it, never stop. But walking a mile a day is not going to help you get up and down off of chairs, stairs, and floors if you have not trained your body and your mind how to do those tasks. Because walking is great, but what if you trip over a rock? If you know how to get to the ground in a moment's notice safely, and you know how to get back up, you're just going to bounce and you're going to be back up and you're going to finish your walk. But if you don't train your body and mind to have the muscle memory to get you up and down from the ground, you may very well need to call 911 at that point. And then what happens? Your walks are shot. So let's start with the number one most important thing about super aging. Do you want to super age? Do you want to live the fullest, highest quality of life till your last breath? Yes or no? Do you want to do so in your own home, regardless of where that home is or what kind of home that is? Yes or no? Those two questions. And the third one, if you do want to live independently on your own till your last breath, what do you got to do? Well, you got to start with the simplest basics to be physically and mentally independent. And that is to get yourself out of chairs, stairs, and floors. So go ahead, try it. Look up all the videos because those are the PTs and the doctors and the experts. I'm not an expert. I know what I do to get up and down off of those things, but they may not be right for you, and I don't want to give you any kind of demonstration or physical advice. I'm telling you, you need to learn how to do those things, but who you learn it from and how you learn it is going to be up to you. Go ahead, look it all up. There's a million of them on TikTok. And until next time, do good, be good, and remember, the core of each day, my new anthem, and I want it to be yours, is, do you want to be the oldest person in the gym or the youngest person in the nursing home? Be the oldest person in the gym, not the youngest in the nursing home.